After a strange turn of events, Logan Paul decided that he would be suing Coffeezilla after stating that he in fact wouldn't be suing Coffeezilla for defamation over the CryptoZoo scandal. Now obviously Coffeezilla really blew this to the popularity that it is now by exposing some harsh truths about CryptoZoo and what was really going on behind the scenes. Now Logan Paul didn't take too well to this initially. Then he did take well to it and apologised to Coffeezilla, stating that he wouldn't actually be taking legal action, but then decided to double back on that about 2 or 3 weeks ago and stated that he would in fact be suing Coffeezilla for defamation. But over on the Legal Eagle YouTube channel, he has got Coffeezilla's lawyer involved in a video, and we're going to take a look at that today to see, well, what the whole gig is. Let's take a little look.
Yes, Logan Paul has sued Coffeezilla for saying mean things about his crypto scams. Hey Logan, I'm gonna say some mean things about you. You wanna dance? But who could have possibly have seen that Logan Paul's crypto ventures might not be on the up and up? I mean, you'd need at least one eye for that. But to take you back, he promised that his game, CryptoZoo, which combined cryptocurrency and NFTs, would allow users to make real money with barely any effort.
It's a really fun game that makes you money. I really, really do believe it is going to be the catalyst for a lot of young people getting into crypto.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Didn't even get off the ground.
I think this will be their first fun NFT crypto experience. My game.
Now, it's possible that CryptoZoo might have made Logan Paul some real-world money with very little effort, but players who purchased the in-game currency were left out in the cold. But that's where YouTuber Coffeezilla, real name Steven Findezen, comes in. He's been investigating Paul's promises and the demise of CryptoZoo since at least 2022, calling Paul out for being a scammer. And now,
not only did he call him out for being a scammer, but he also tried to hold him accountable for that alleged $1.5 million out of Logan Paul's own pocket that he was going to pay back the victims. He was going to use those funds to, again, pay back the victims for, some of them even investing up to $500,000 US. That's a crazy amount of money on an NFT startup project, right? But Logan Paul promised that it would be the next big thing. And of course his fans believed him, unfortunately. But when Logan said that he was going to do this, a year went by and Coffeezilla didn't see anything. The victims were still saying that they hadn't been paid yet. So Coffeezilla reached out to Logan and was like, where's their money at? Where's their money? How come you haven't got this? So he was trying to hold him accountable as well as exposing the truth.
Logan Paul has filed a defamation lawsuit against Coffeezilla. Paul alleges that he maliciously and repeatedly published false statements accusing Paul of operating a scam related to CryptoZoo, and that these lies have hurt his reputation, caused him significant emotional distress. Logan Paul was just an upstanding internet citizen who completely rehabilitated his image, and then Coffeezilla just came out of nowhere and ruined that good name. But first, what is CryptoZoo? Well, CryptoZoo was a Pokemon-inspired trading game where users could buy eggs, hatch them, and then breed the animals. To participate, users spend their non-fungible tokens, called Zoo Coins, to buy the eggs. The app runs on the Binance Smart Chain, and the NFTs are purchased with Ethereum. The game promised users that they could make real money this way. All you had to do was breed very rare digital hybrid animals, and then watch your cache of coins grow.
Bro, we have a massive team behind it, and are probably out of pocket like $1 million just because we believe it's going to work.
It was a simpler time back then, and the sales pitch worked. Players purchased over $2.5 million worth of digital eggs, which helped create enough hype to convince the crypto market that the Zoo Coin's actual value was worth up to $2 billion. But here's the catch. CryptoZoo launched in September of 2021, but as of 2024, it's still not fully playable. Players who purchased the eggs couldn't breed them, let alone cash out the coins for real money, and investors said that the eggs were just a picture on a screen that was basically worth nothing whatsoever. And that's a pretty accurate...
Now, I know that the value of NFTs have really taken a huge nosedive over the past couple of years. Obviously, everyone was buying those, well, you can see here, these kind of monkey tokens. Eminem did it, some other high-profile people did it, and now I'm pretty sure they're worth very little.
Your description of an NFT. It took me and Steve Bold 27 minutes to say the same thing a few years ago. But the CryptoZoo development team left the project in October of 2021, alleging that, quote, Logan's team has stolen the tokens from all of its V3 investors, while also lying to the public that he had paid the devs $1 million. Now, while it's not unusual for a group of people to have creative differences, Paul's silence and the lack of playable game led many people to believe that they'd been conned. In December of 2022, Coffeezilla started a 3-part series on CryptoZoo. At first, Paul responded by blaming a developer who fled to Switzerland with the source code and held it hostage for $1 million. However, Coffeezilla tracked down this developer, Zach Kelling, who disputed everything Paul said about him. And reporters also discovered that Paul's other partner on the project, Eddie Ibanez, was a catch-me-if-you-can level liar. Paul's manager, Jeff Levin, allegedly knew about Ibanez's exaggerations before the CryptoZoo launch, but kept him on the team. Now, Logan Paul filed his lawsuit in federal court in the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, though Logan Paul putatively lives in Puerto Rico and Coffeezilla and his company reside in Texas. Although many defamation complaints are filed in state court, filing in Texas federal court gives Logan Paul an advantage because Coffeezilla won't be able to use the Texas anti-SLAPP law. As you might know, a strategic lawsuit against public participation, or SLAPP suit, is a legal action intended to censor, intimidate, or silence critics by burdening them with the cost of legal defense. And the Texas Citizens Participation Act, or TCPA, allows defendants to file a motion to dismiss a legal action that infringes on their right to free speech. This motion can be filed early and often before the case proceeds to discovery, which saves a huge amount of money. However, Coffeezilla won't be...
I can't lie, American legal things really confuse the life out of me. Obviously in the UK it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all regardless of where you live in the UK, whereas over in the States, obviously every state has got a different kind of lawsuit, like different like legal loopholes and all the rest of it. Like literally from one place to another, it varies so heavily. It's so confusing.
Able to use the TCPA to file an early motion to dismiss and recover costs because the Fifth Circuit, which rules over Texas, ruled that the state law doesn't apply in federal court. Parenthetically, I'll note that there's a circuit split where some federal courts will apply state-based anti-SLAPP laws and some will not, which is why we need a federal anti-SLAPP law. So without an applicable anti-SLAPP law, Coffeezilla's defense is going to get extremely expensive, even if he's successful. But let's look at Logan Paul's lawsuit. Paul's complaint alleges that Coffeezilla's commentary about CryptoZoo perpetuates a false narrative that CryptoZoo was a scam orchestrated by Paul. He says that Coffeezilla knew he was making false statements when he published the videos. So what are the allegedly false and defamatory statements? Well, it started with the December 2022 YouTube series. Right off the bat, in response to those videos, Paul threatened to sue Coffeezilla. In a now deleted video, Paul said, quote,
"You led the charge to drive and monetize a narrative telling millions of people that I'm a fraud or I tried to scam my audience.
Now, it's very telling that this video has since been taken down.
That is patently false."
And Paul accused Coffeezilla of not reaching out to him to get the facts until December 24th, 2022. On Twitter, Coffeezilla said he contacted Paul in October seeking clarification about the CryptoZoo project, and you can see his questions for Paul on the Instagram post. And these messages went unanswered. And at the time, Paul swiftly backed down. Then Coffeezilla tweeted, quote, "Logan called me, he said he's deleting the 2 responses and is dropping the lawsuit threats." Coffeezilla had planned to release another video about CryptoZoo, but decided to delay the video so he could include Paul's response. And here was Logan Paul's later response, saying the war is not with Coffee, and quote, "I'm grateful he brought this to light." He apologized and promised to come up with a plan to make things right. Coffeezilla warned Paul that he would continue to follow the CryptoZoo story, saying that, quote, "The right thing to do here is refunds for the affected victims. That's what this has always been about." Now, there's no actionable defamation in these old exchanges since Logan Paul acknowledges what Coffeezilla reported was true, and they're also outside of the 1-year statute of limitations for bringing libel claims in Texas. But that's where things get interesting because Logan Paul announced a 3-step plan to remedy the problem.
So I'd like to announce my 3-step plan moving forward.
Here we go.
Step 1, Jeff and I are going to burn our Zoo tokens so we have no financial upside in the game and it will add value to holder tokens. Step 2, we want to offer a rewards program for players who are disappointed in the status of the game. So essentially you're going to be able to burn your base egg or your base animal for the mint price, which was 0.1 ETH or the equivalent in BNB. I am personally committing 1,000 ETH to this, which is about $1.3 million right now for players who want to get out. And then step 3, obviously finish and deliver the game.
Now, Paul made promises to remedy the situation, but not everyone was happy. So some of the customers sued him and they went to arbitration, where they are represented by attorney Tom Kirker, who you might know by his online moniker, Attorney Tom. Now, put a pin in that, we're gonna come back to it. But fast forward 6 months later when Coffeezilla tweeted out, "Logan Paul really is the type of dude to thank you when you expose his scam, then block you when you remind him to pay up." Now, Logan Paul alleges that Coffeezilla's tweet is libel per se. A defamation or libel per se describes statements which are considered to be so harmful on their face that the plaintiff doesn't need to prove special damages, that they can get by with basically no damages and still file suit. In Texas, defamation per se includes accusing someone of having an infectious disease, accusing someone of a crime, or making statements that harm someone in their job or profession. Now, in this context, the allegation of defamation per se probably doesn't make any difference whatsoever. But in general, to prove defamation, he has to show 1, the publication of a false statement of fact, 2, that was defamatory concerning the plaintiff, and 3, that the person made the statement with actual malice, and 4, damages. And
And also, surely he's going to have to show that what, obviously, Coffeezilla was saying was false. But at the time of recording, you know, there has been no steps to actually remedy the situation. The victims are still waiting on their money, some of them up to $500,000, you know, and the situation hasn't been remedied. So I think Coffeezilla's probably got a stronger leg to stand on.
I'll remind you that the term actual malice is a legal term of art. It does not mean that the publication of false statements was made with mean intention, but rather that the plaintiff has to actually know that what they're saying is false or act with reckless disregard for the truth of that statement. And here Logan Paul alleges that, quote, the accusation that Paul operated a financial scam is one that tends to harm his reputation so as to lower him in the estimation of the community or deter third persons from associating or dealing with him. The June 29th, 2023 X post is libelous per se, and that it tends to affect Paul in his profession or occupation and accuse Paul of engaging in illegal conduct. Now, according to Texas law, a statement constitutes defamation per se if it injures a person in his office, profession, or occupation, but this is interpreted narrowly so it doesn't prohibit legitimate complaints against a person for their professional conduct. And generally, disparagement of a general character equally discernible to all persons is not enough unless the particular quality disparagement is of such a character that it is peculiarly valuable in the plaintiff's business or profession. Now, what is Logan Paul's profession? Arguably an influencer or boxer. He's not a developer, he's not a financial professional, nor does he have any special knowledge of NFTs and how the blockchain works, clearly. So really, even if it mattered here, the allegation of defamation per se probably wouldn't apply anyway. But anyway, Logan Paul says by 2023, Coffeezilla knew that CryptoZoo wasn't a scam. He says, quote, the post was a gross and intentional distortion of Paul's prior statements in which he referenced Coffeezilla's research as a positive in the sense that it had helped expose the wrongdoing by Paul's former business partners, who had also hoodwinked and victimized Paul. Feinstein knew this, but he intentionally conveyed to the public the false accusation that Paul was a participant in a scam and intentionally defrauded people to increase his own profile by continuing to attack a well-known celebrity.
Now, obviously, the whole situation is literally just throwing stuff at a wall and hoping that something sticks. And ultimately, it's just such a huge mess. It's just such a huge mess. Like, people are holding other people accountable and they're just turning around and going, it was his fault, it was his fault. It's like the Tobey Maguire, you know, Spider-Man meme. Like, it's his fault. Everyone's just pointing at each other like, who's to blame? So I'm going to fast forward through the video now that we've got a little bit of context regarding the entire situation to what Coffeezilla's lawyers have had to say about the situation. Of course, I will leave a link to the full video down in the description so you can check it out from Legal Eagle yourselves. But let's get into it.
Time when there's an outcome that we don't necessarily like. Logan Paul asserts that you can only use the word scam to describe something where they intentionally intended something to steal money from someone, but that just doesn't jive with the regular definition of scam that we use all the time. Though it might actually apply in this case too. We don't know. Now, Logan Paul's lawsuit seeks compensatory damages for the harm to his reputation, emotional distress, punitive damages, and an injunction to prevent Coffeezilla from continuing to report on CryptoZoo. But the bottom line is that Logan Paul filed this lawsuit because he wants to silence his main critic. And that's the very definition of a slap suit. And even though Coffeezilla won't be able to use the TCPA, he still has every other defense to a defamation lawsuit, including...
I mean, it definitely looks that way. It definitely looks as if Logan Paul wants to, you know, shut this whole thing up. Because at the minute, this is the biggest carrot on a stick that is dangling over Logan Paul's head. And it is destroying his reputation. You know, whatever reputation he may have left after everything that's gone on. But regardless of the point, you know, Coffeezilla is holding him accountable. And he doesn't like it right now. So what's he going to do? He's going to try and shut him up. So...
including his statements are true facts, and also his own opinions. The First Amendment also protects rhetorical hyperbole, which is how we describe exaggerated over-the-top speech employed for rhetorical effect. And frankly, even if these statements were defamatory, Paul would probably struggle to prove damages. Now, so far, Coffeezilla hasn't said anything publicly, which is very smart. He's hired some great attorneys, and it looks like he'll let them do the talking, which, again, is smart, because when it comes to IRL legal disputes, this shit gets real. Now, as far as I know, Coffeezilla has not started a GoFundMe or a campaign to recoup any of his legal defense costs, and those can get astronomically expensive. Ethan Klein of H3H3 incurred hundreds of thousands of dollars in a fair use dispute, and that was 10 years ago. But the next best thing would be to support Coffeezilla on Patreon, which is where he gets most of his funding anyway. I'll put a link to Coffeezilla's Patreon in the description of this video. I highly recommend becoming a member of Coffeezilla's Patreon and contributing what you can. Coffeezilla does great work, and it would be a real shame to let someone like Logan Paul silence Coffeezilla. And in fact, I did a little digging and found that Coffeezilla is actually represented by some very good attorneys. In fact, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might actually have heard of them, because Coffeezilla has retained Mark Bankston and Bill Ogden over at Farrer and Ball. They have been spearheading much of the defamation litigation against Alex Jones and are responsible for the approximately $50 million verdict for the Texas plaintiffs against Jones. And Bankston in particular is responsible for what might be the cross-examination of the decade, when he created the Perry Mason moment, when he crossed Alex Jones on the stand and caught him in a lie after Jones's attorney accidentally sent Bankston the contents of Jones's phone. We talked about that at the time. It was an epic and textbook cross-examination skewering. So Coffeezilla is in pretty good hands. But don't take it from me, I reached out to Coffeezilla's lawyers and got Mark Bankston on the phone.
Here we go. This is what we are here for. This is what we want to see.
Mark, thanks for being here. You are actually representing Coffeezilla, is that correct?
No, that's correct. My partner Bill Ogden and I have agreed to represent Coffeezilla in this very exciting suit.
You know, in the world of online lawyers, there's a whole spectrum of people that are qualified and that are not. A quick perusal of your resume seems to indicate that you guys know your way around defamation.
Yeah, most folks are probably aware of my defamation practice through the lawsuits that I brought against Alex Jones and InfoWars on behalf of several Sandy Hook parents. This situation is used on a different foot. This will actually be the first time that we are defending someone from a defamation suit. But It is something we very strongly believe in this particular case.
What has happened?
I don't think that they would have taken the case. I mean, most lawyers probably would refuse a case if it was like a slam dunk for the opposing team. So, you know, they must have a very good argument.
Happened so far?
Right now, very little has happened. There hasn't been an answer in suit or anything like that. You would usually, in most states at this point, face an anti-slap motion. That type of motion is not available in federal court in the Fifth Circuit in Texas. In this case, the federal court venue was chosen, and there seems to be no obvious reason for that except to avoid the anti-slap motion. Ironically, it's
so tactical. When you hear it like that from like Logan Paul's camp, it's so tactical to avoid the one state, or one of the very few states that is avoiding an anti-slap motion, which of course is the like they said before, in case you haven't been keeping up, it's the Logan Paul, Coffeezilla can't turn around in this lawsuit and say he's only doing this to shut me up. Like that's what the anti-slap does, and in Texas they don't have that. So Logan Paul can press charges harder.
It's a very, very vicious attack on Coffeezilla's reputation that really he has no way to vindicate except going in the court and winning on this suit.
Reading the complaint, I was very surprised that Logan Paul had completely rehabilitated his image, and then Coffeezilla just came out of nowhere and besmirched him for no reason whatsoever. So I found that to be very surprising.
Yeah, it seems far-fetched. I guess we'll have to see where discovery takes us on that. Definitely. I mean, look, you can look at this suit, and it has all of the hallmarks of a classic slap suit. There's not a single person on this planet who can look at the situation and say that Coffeezilla knew and intended to tell lies about Logan Paul. You know, I think I knew it before he became my client. I think I know it way more now. If there's something that man cares about, it's the truth.
Also, Coffeezilla has a lot to lose if that's the case. Like, he builds and prides himself on exposing the truth. If it comes out that this was all a lie, let's say it did go to court and Coffeezilla did lie and it all gets exposed, his reputation's out the window. No one will watch his content anymore. People watch him because of his truth-seeking antics. And if he goes against that, he loses everything.
He is devoted to that principle, like very few journalists that I see today. This case really presents a David and Goliath type problem. You look at somebody like Coffeezilla, yes, he has a lot of YouTube subscribers. I mean, I'm sure he makes money. You know, I'm sure he does fine. He's not anywhere near the capacity of his opponent. I mean, his opponent has an unlimited war chest to come at him, and could essentially use this suit to drive him off the internet.
I mean, this is very true. Let's look at Logan Paul's income sources. He's part of the WWE roster, which is probably paying him a fair amount of money. He's got his YouTube income. He's getting multiple million views per video. He's very high profile, so brand deals and all the rest of it. He's got Prime, which is a multi-billion-dollar business. Yes, he only takes 20% of all the income generated, but still, that's a lot of money to be made. let's just, you know, that's just a few things. I've not even touched on like the crypto stuff that he does, and you know, there is unlimited sources of money that this guy's got.
We're not going to let that.
So in terms of next steps, I would assume there would be a motion to dismiss based on the allegations of the complaint, or maybe if you wanted to get feisty, pre-answer discovery. I don't know if that's available.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you can't look at that complaint and not think judgment on the pleadings. I mean, that's just what you think the moment you see it. Are the statements being made even something that can be verified as true or false? What does it mean to call something a scam? The word scam can be interpreted a lot of different ways, and it does not mean one thing to all people. Businesses and bad deals are described as scams constantly.
This is not the only suit that Logan Paul is in related to the crypto scheme. He's currently facing other lawsuits related to the nature of that, and it seemed to me that a lot of those allegations are going to be deleterious for the litigation that he's in outside of this particular case.
The thing that I kept thinking to myself is that if I'm any one of those claimants in those cases, I'm extremely interested in the things that were said in this complaint. And as a result, going to be very interested in how this lawsuit progresses. All right, dude, thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care. But even with great lawyers, lawsuits are still stressful, and it's easy to lose your appetite, unless you use today's sponsor, Factor. Because
Right, I'm going to stop the video there because it is now just a brand deal. Like I said though, get yourself down in the description where there is the link to the full Legal Eagle video. I highly recommend you subscribe to his channel, to be fair, because he is fantastic at what he does. But it's very interesting to see how things are going to progress, because obviously right now, like we've heard, we've had the whole defamation case be brought to the table, and then nothing else has really happened since. So how is this going to progress? When will it progress? And how will Coffeezilla's legal team respond to the case? They seem to be very confident that they've got a case, but they're not going to go on a big channel like this and then state that they aren't confident about it, are they? So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below while you're down there. Be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button if you have not already. Subscribe if you're new. Tick our little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to the channel. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.